No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
You're with Santos Bonacci for the next 2 hours, and I have very special guests lined up today. And I will have also, toward the end of the show, David Whitehead will join me for the last segment. He is going to be looking after the shows while I'm away in Ecuador for the month of May. So he'll be joining us to share with you the great guest that he's got lined up to present some great shows on American Freedom Radio. So thanks for joining. It's April the 24th on Wednesday here in Melbourne, 12 p.m. and great weather here in Melbourne. 5 days till I fly off to Ecuador, so I am very excited, preparing my suitcase as I speak, and just really looking forward to a great time making a documentary on syncretism, the science of light, and also we'll be doing some presentations in Ecuador, so I'm very excited about this. And without further ado, I have my very special guest and great friend today, Max Igan. Welcome, Max.
Nice to be on the show again, Santos. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, look, it's a pleasure, and I'm just excited to have you because, for one reason too, is that I interviewed my neighbour last week on this show, and his name is Fattah Sabawi. He's Palestinian, and he has made a great documentary called Return to Gaza. And we've had many conversations over the fence with Fattah. And the documentary won many awards around the world, and he's currently making a new one, which is dealing with the war that happened a few years ago there, and where 12 or 1,300 people perished in that war. And he's got raw footage and lots of great new information, and he's going to make a repeat, or he's going to make a second documentary on that subject. And he's Palestinian, and he's seen the suffering. And I spoke to him about you and Ken O'Keefe, because you were there last year, and you actually were in those tunnels underground that you have to go through to get to Gaza. And I remember you saying that you thought to yourself, what the hell am I doing here? Am I going to come out of this tunnel alive? And yet, you know, you were able to do so, and you built some benches and desks and what have you for the schools there. And Fattah was very happy to hear that. And so, fresh on the heels of that, I've got you back again. So I'm honoured, and thanks for joining me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, mate. Look, people have got to pay attention to what's going on in Gaza. It was really interesting going in there the way we did, because we sort of didn't go in through any official means. It was probably pretty stupid when I think back on it. I mean, it's probably not one of the more intelligent things I've done, but, you know, you sort of sneak into a war zone so you can help the kids. But I'm really glad that I did it, you know, because it was a really enriching experience. I do hope to go back there within the next couple of months. I'm actually still in contact with a lot of the people from Gaza. I got a video call from someone just yesterday, actually. A couple of Muslim ladies in Gaza called me to say hello, told me that they're graduating from the university soon. Some of the university students that I interviewed over there, I made some great friends amongst these kids and amongst some of the teachers and some of the families over there while I was there. They're great people, and I'm hoping to go back there this year.
Oh, great. Where can people see those videos you made? Because I remember I was following you as you were overseas, and I watched them all, and they're just great. You and Ken were just having a ball. Where can people click on those to have a look at those?
Well, they're on the crowhouse.com, my website. They'll find them on YouTube. Just look for Max Igan and Ken O'Keefe, Gaza. Just do a search for that, and you should find 2 or 3 videos that we made while we were over there. We did one called 10 Days in Gaza, which just sort of highlighted the trip and a little bit of what we did and what we saw while we were there. And we did another one where it was a breakdown of a Zionist lobbyist in the United States, sort of trying to push for war in Iran. We just saw this clip and we couldn't believe it, so we made a little satire of it while we were on the rooftop in Gaza. And we made another one just called Freestyle Gaza Rooftop, where it was the day after we arrived, or 2 days after we arrived. And we were just there. We thought, well, we've snuck into this place. We probably should let the world know that we're here. So we made a video and put it up on YouTube. You know, just to let the people in Gaza know we were there as well. I mean, just to let everybody know where we were, because we kind of went in there by no official means at all. So you know, quite off our own accord. So it was kind of an interesting thing to do. It was a little bit sort of spy versus spy. We didn't go through any of the official tunnels that you see on television or that you hear about, any of the Hamas-controlled tunnels. What we went through was a tiny little dirt tunnel that was over 1 kilometre long, and you had to crawl through. You were like 50 metres underground, and it was only high enough to crawl most of the way. And so it wasn't any of the official tunnels. This was made by kids, basically. And it was a really interesting experience, you know. And I had no idea where it'd even be or where we came out. Like, you know, we were kind of bundled in and bundled out, and you kind of looked at it and thought, well, I wonder if I'm crawling into my own grave here, because it's just this little tunnel. And you think, well, I don't know how long it's going to be. And I shined a torch down it, and it was pretty long. And you think, oh, well, it's pretty long. But after you've been in there for almost an hour, you start thinking, oh, how long is this tunnel, you know? So it was kind of an interesting journey to be underground long in those sort of conditions. But it was really worth it, though, you know.
I would love to have done it. I'm very, very adventurous. The kind of things I did when I was growing up in country Victoria. Oh, look, you think that's crazy? I used to jump off bridges, do somersaults, and land in a river that was only sort of, you know, 5 foot of water or something like that. I used to bolt on virtually racehorses, bareback, chasing kangaroos in my uncle used to have a property nearby on a hill, and kangaroos everywhere. You imagine me just bolting. I refused to have a saddle, and I've fallen off so many times. I should have been dead. But yeah, I would love that adventure.
Max, it was a real adventure, yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Ken's latest beautiful, say, 10-minute video on Iran? Have you seen that one?
Yeah, fantastic. It's great that he went there to the conference, the Hollywoodism conference, and he gave the people a real vision of what Iran's really like. People need to know what it's like. I mean, it's a beautiful place. I mean, people need to know what the Arab world is really like. You can find a link in the links and articles on my website. I'll find it for you, and I'll give you the exact name of it. But it just shows how deeply propaganda reigns and how much damage we've done. It's called From Afghanistan to Syria, Women's Rights, War Propaganda, and the CIA. And if you take that link, or if you Google that title, you'll find an article which shows what Afghanistan was in the 70s, okay? You've got women walking around in miniskirts and normal college clothing with their hair out, wearing jewelry, and it's a Western society. It's a perfectly normal, Western, vibrant society where everybody's free. And then you see what happened after the West got involved. And you see the suppression of women, where women are forced to wear burqas, and it became all very, very hard line. And then, of course, the West pushes, well, look, we've got this problem in the Middle East. It's all very, very hard line, and women are suppressed. We need to go in and save the women and save the people. So we go in and wage war against these countries. But they're all very progressive countries. You look at Iran back in 1954, when Mossadegh was in charge of Iran, before he was deposed by the CIA, was the first successful coup the CIA ever pulled off, was actually the dispossession of Mossadegh, the overthrow of the Mossadegh government and the imposition of the Shah in 1954. And Iran was a progressive nation, a free-thinking people. There was no religious oppression. There were no hardliners. It was all going along just fine until they decided they wanted to keep the oil for their own country. So you see, we've created all of these extremist conditions. We've found the extremists. The West has found the extremist factions, and we've promoted them to become the main government of these regions. It's all been done by the West. You know, it's all been puppeteered, the whole thing, in order to create this East-West conflict. But you've got to look back and see the damage that we've done and how it's all been set up. You can't blame any of these people. It's been an ongoing plan. It's like a social pathogen that's injected into certain societies to mold them into a certain way, and it affects these societies in a certain way. And it's literally like a psychic pathogen that infects people, and then you pit them against each other, divide and conquer, order, ab, KO, the whole thing. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a great documentary a couple of days ago where it showed how the Bush family, the Kennedys, and all of these, Joseph Kennedy, that is, the father of JFK, he was more sort of criminally minded. But the Bushes and all of these Harriman, the railroad people, and Carnegie, and all of these families, they actually funded the Bolsheviks. They funded three powers: the Bolsheviks, the Nazis at the beginning, and the was it the Husseinis or the Wasabis in Arabia, and all for oil, all for power, and it's been exposed now. It's very, very open now, and many people know this. The history of bloodshed that we've had for the last 100 years or so has come from these corporate families, the money families, and all of these horrible coups like the one you just mentioned in Iran for oil, is masterminded by these criminal gangs, the alphabet gangs, and never forget the Jesuits. They're always behind all of the trouble. I mean, they will be the masterminds behind it all, really. Everything for the Vatican. So you can lump the Zionists, the Bilderbergers, the CIA, Mossad, and all of these creepy entities in there. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, Max. What's your...
Look, I think they're all part of the same mechanism. I think that when we look at the Vatican, we're looking at a mechanism rather than a group of individuals. I mean, there's a group of individuals that are in control of these mechanisms. These individuals are complete psychopaths, of course. You could look at things such as the predator mind. If you look at Castaneda's work, I look at the work of people like John Lash, the concept of the archons, the archonic mind that controls a lot of these sort of people. I mean, it's very likely that something like that's going on. See, what the real problem is the mechanism itself. You know what I mean? The mechanism is so diabolically clever. Where do we go with it? I mean, what we've got to do is realize that it's there, and realize that it's fiction, really. I mean, it only exists on paper. We can deal with all of this. I really believe we can if we understand that it's just paper. It's just, even the government isn't real. The government only exists in a book. People with expensive suits go to these big buildings that set up these magnetic fields and these geometric fields around them, makes them feel important, and they look at these books and they do what these books tell them. And if they can't find something in there to do, then they create something and they put it in the book and say, well, now it's in the book, it's law, it means I can now do this, And that's all governments do, is they make rules. They just make more and more rules. It's a self-perpetuating system, but it's all fiction. Ultimately, it's all fiction. It only exists on paper. So it's kind of hard to get that through to people. But that's what we need to get through to people. It's difficult. Yep. It's a pathogen, though. I mean, all of this stuff. We've got social pathogens, economic pathogens, religious pathogens. And I mean, you can look at the whole system, and I mean, I've pointed the finger at so many people for so many years about who to blame for all this. But really, what the problem is that we've got a case of mass mind control where people are quite literally living in a paper-based matrix that only exists on paper, just rules that were written down. It's a paper-based reality, and that they're kept under mind control, believing that this reality is real. And it's not. And really, all the people you point your finger at, ultimately it's yourself, because you've got the power to change all of this by stepping into the power that you have, by realizing that your creator, whatever you perceive that to be, created your consciousness, which created society, which created government. All of this is man-made. Everything below man is fiction. We created the whole thing. We made it all up. So we have the power to change that, but we can't respect ourselves. We don't believe in the power of ourselves, and we can't respect others because we're kept locked into these economic and social pathogens. We judge ourselves by certain rungs that we've attained on the social ladder, which is all related to the whole economic pathogen. We've got to profit from everybody. Everybody's kept in shortage, which is the purpose of money, to keep people in scarcity. So they're always kept in competition with each other. They exploit each other. Even like things like multi-level marketing, Turn all your friends into a commodity. Turn them all into a business opportunity. What a great way to live, you know.
Hey, I've got to share with you. I was with Amway. Can you believe that?
Yeah, well, you know, these sorts of things, this is what they're designed to do. They lock you into that economic pathogen, whereby you start seeing everybody as a business opportunity. It's all about money.
Yep.
And once you start collecting money, that affects your mind like a pathogen. No matter how much you have, you think, well, I thought I was going to need this much for my security, but now I'm thinking about it, I reckon I might need a little bit more. And now I've got that, okay, I think I'm going to need more. Because deep down inside, you know that you're going to be dispossessed as well. You know, and so we all mollycoddle and we look up to the people above us in our business world, because we think once the rung falls from under us, if we're nice to these guys, they'll help us, they'll give us a helping hand up. But they won't, because they know that they're going to fail as well eventually. And so people keep looking at their slave masters. It's like Stockholm syndrome. You know, where the celebrities walk in, the Queen walks in, we know she's a slave trader. She owns trillions of dollars, all these people starving and dispossessed all around the world, and here's her driving around in gold carriages, owns 3/4 of the world. And we all go, oh, isn't she lovely? No, she's a slave trader, and you've all got Stockholm syndrome. That's the problem, you know.
And to boot, she eats your babies that she steals.
Well, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to go there, but the fact.
I certainly will. Hey, I remember just talking about Amway there. I remember you said preying on people. Yeah, I remember preying on my family even, you know, to join so that I could be, you know, financially secure. This is only like 6 or 7 years ago, Max. It's just incredible. And now I open my eyes and realise that they are a pathetic pyramid scheme with criminal intentions, basically manipulating people. That's all it is. All right, folks, first break. We'll come back in a few short minutes. Thank you. We are talking about how to get off Maggie's farm with Max Igan, and beautiful summation of geopolitics and the way things really are in the first segment, Max. Beautiful the way that flowed from your lips. Best 10 minutes of summation of what's really going on around the world. We touched on the religious side of things through the break. How about we do a bit of that, because I go after them too. So I love hearing you dissect them.
Well, yeah, what we were talking about before with the economic, if you can think of the economic understanding and the economic system as a pathogen that affects your mind in a certain way, makes you view everybody as a business opportunity, keeps you in shortage so that no matter how much you've got, you've never really got enough. You know, and it also creates social division, so that once you start accumulating things, it allows you to insulate yourself from the people below you on the social rung. So as they get discarded, you think, well, hang on, I can't really help you because I don't quite have enough. You will allow people to be discarded below you, and eventually it just keeps going up the chain. So we end up, we mollycoddle to those above us, hoping that they will rescue us when our time comes. But of course they won't, because inside they know that they're not the leaders either. They know that they may lose everything as well. And we become fearful of homeless and all this sort of stuff. But as we get discarded, we perceive that it's okay, because it says in the religious systems that we have to be discarded. Things have to get really bad, but it's okay, because once our backs are really, really to the wall and everything looks like it's all lost, then a miraculous supernatural figure is going to appear and perform a superhuman action, which is suddenly going to save everybody, and the whole world will be saved. And it's okay. We have to let it get bad, and we have to love those who oppress us. That's basically what a religion tells us to do. But it's okay, because a superhuman off-world figure is going to come down and save you. Don't you think you can do anything, because you can't, because you're flawed. You're just a human. You made all these mistakes. See, it says so in this book. See, we're enslaved to the written word. We know what we're taught to know, and it says here in this book that this is the way reality works, so we adopt that reality on as our own, and we allow the world to be degraded around us and humanity to be discarded at the whim of the social and economic pathogens that affect people's mind by the mechanism of the religious pathogen that's fed to us. It tells us this is how it has to all be. But it's okay, because this figure is going to come and save you. And this is in all of the religions, all the main religions, like Judaism, Islam, Christianism. All of them talk about a savior coming from an external source. It's always a patriarchal figure. It's always based in pain and redemption. And if you look at the Christian symbolism, I mean, you've got people wearing this dead, tortured man around their neck.
It's grotesque.
It is. It's shocking. You know, people are worshipping pain and suffering, and they're making you think that it's okay to suffer. Suffering is good because suffering. It says the meek shall inherit the earth. Those who allow suffering to be given to them and brought upon them, and those who stay in a state of Stockholm syndrome for those who are oppressing them, you know, will go to heaven. It says so, and you worship this suffering and this pain, and you have statues of it, and this tortured man on this cross everywhere. It's sick. It really is.
Hey, Max, you might be Celsus, the 2nd century philosopher incarnated, because I'm just flicking through his book, and everything you said is coming right out of his book. This is the 2nd century philosopher, listeners. Celsus. You might want to get it. It's called Celsus on the True Doctrine, a discourse against the Christians, because they were ignoramuses back then too, you know, for all this, you know, crap that's been written into our history that they were martyrs and great individuals. Yeah, the Gnostic Christians were, but not the morons that the the Roman elite were churning out by the gazillions to undermine freedom forevermore. Celsus pointed out this. He said they're just a bunch of morons who, you know, are waiting for someone to come along and basically wipe their bums because they're just so incompetent and incontinent. You know, I won't read anything. I'll spare you that because I want to listen to you. But for the listeners, I just had to put that in there. And Max, you probably might want to get that book. You get it on Amazon for about $10. Rest assured, if you read this book, you will think that it was from today, from modern times. He was writing just exactly, he calls them clubs and cliques and how they, you know, the only thing they have in common is the name Jesus and Christ, but there's so many sects and clubs that they go about slandering each other and rubbishing each other that there's just so much confusion. And this is 2,000 years ago. And we're still on air, on radio now, still having to deal with this subject of the churches and their moronic enslavement of humanity. It's the blind leading the blind.
Well, it is. I mean, it is enslavement. I mean, I don't think the people. I don't know. I wouldn't be so harsh as to call them morons. I don't think that's any way to get them back or to help them think clearly. But I mean, they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed into a doctrine, basically. I mean, it's been deeply ingrained into their psyche, and they're forced to believe this stuff. And really, it's drummed into a lot of these people from a very, very early age. That's why I find it very difficult to judge people and in anything that we've done, anything that we do, any wrong that anybody's done, anybody. I mean, I look at the society and I say, well, this is what it breeds. You know, everybody, all the things that they've done are a product of this society, because when you get human consciousness and you do what's been done to it, you know, of course this is what you get. Everybody's kept in a state of scarcity, so they're all ripping each other off. They're all profiting from each other. It's all this whole big commercial ugliness. And that's what you get. I mean, really, when you look at it, I mean, the Gnostics had a great look at it. I would debate the term Gnostic Christian, though, because I believe that no true Gnostic was ever a Christian. I think that Gnosis and Christianity are diametrically opposed, even as far as the God goes. I highly recommend people look into the work of John Lash. I think John's done some fantastic research as far as Gnostics go. And like even when you look at the Nag Hammadi writings, I mean, I started reading the Nag Hammadi writings around about the beginning of last year, and I kind of got halfway through them or 3/4 of the way through them when I went away. And just before I went away, I discovered John Lash's work, and then I've recently read his book where he gives a very, very good breakdown of the Nag Hammadi writings from the perspective of a Gnostic, because John Lash is a Gnostic. So you look at the Nag Hammadi writings and you find they're actually translated by Christians, so they've all got a Christian slant on them. When you look at it, you've got to think, okay, well, what are they really saying here? Because this has been given to me from a Christian perspective, you know. But
the Christianity though that I'm referring to is the ancient Christianity that came from the heart of Egypt thousands of years before Rome, made it, an expression that it appeared to be a new thing on the scene. In fact, Augustine in the 4th century said there was never a time on this planet that there was not Christianity. It has always been here because it's the science of light. And it's a sister of Judaism and Islam by virtue of it being the same science. And that's what I've proven in my presentations. It may have had a different name, but it's all the same religion/science. It's basically just pure science gone wrong. And the worst of it was the Christian period of the Romans, just an aberration.
Yeah, well, of course. I question science itself. I mean, really, if you look at some of the stuff in the Gnostic teachings, the whole geometric reality that we live in, it's all very, very scientific, and it's like there's something here that's attempting to reverse engineer reality, reverse engineer life, to find out how to create life. I mean, why is our science, our modern science, so directed at mapping the human genome and attempting to find the God particle? Like, we're building bigger and bigger colliders to try to find the God particle, what we're calling it. You know what I mean? Was it, a Higgs boson? They think they might have found a Higgs boson, but of course now they've found a Higgs boson, they're going to have to build a bigger collider so they can start colliding Higgs bosons together to see if there's a smaller particle. Because they've got a Higgs boson, but hey, how come it isn't conscious? How come it hasn't got the essence of life to it? Why can't I find the particle, the piece of matter that will give me consciousness? We want to be able to find a way of taking the rocks and the chemicals from reality and combining them in a way that will give us a being that is alive the way we are, that has a soul, that can think, that has consciousness. But we can't do it. Of course we can't do it, because consciousness isn't local to the body. Consciousness comes from the field. So why is all of our science directed at this? And really, when you start looking at some of the Gnostic theory of why this is so, it's quite remarkable. And from that, I see all religion as construct. I see all science as constructs. Some of the experiences that I had during ceremony in Peru really, really confirmed this for me as well. And recently, did you hear the talk that Graham Hancock did? Apparently it was banned.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. And so was... what's his name? The other guy.
Sheldrake. Rupert
Sheldrake, yeah.
Well, what Graham Hancock said in that was absolutely phenomenal. It really, really is amazing food for thought about how we actually started creating art when we started experimenting with entheogenic plants. Now, and he's, of course, been to all these places and he's dated the artwork, so he would know more than most people because he's done a lot of research in this area. And when I heard him say that one of the most, the biggest crimes that's been committed against humanity is the way we've been locked out of these higher senses and locked away from these entheogenic plants. And in his opinion, this government system that we've got has effectively changed mankind's destiny. It's deprived us of living up to our destiny. These plants were put here in order for us to learn and to grow into what we should and could be. And we've been deprived from that. We've been sent down this total scientific-based mathematical reality where everything is a construct. Every single thing that's written in a book is a construct. Every mathematical program is a construct. All of this geometry that's all around us, it's all a construct, the whole lot of it. And we should have higher instincts and higher senses. If we were left to have pure bodies, eating pure food, living in a pure environment, we would have higher senses online. We would have more DMT active in our body. Our instincts would be online, and we'd be communicating with reality in a completely different way to what we are. And that's what people are missing. Even if we bring down this system, we've got so far to go to get us back to what we should be. And that's what the big problem that we're facing. And, really when you look at what's been done, it's so important that we rein this system in now, this generation, because our kids are being programmed, unfortunately. They're being programmed into an electronic world from a very, very early age. And there's a lot of kids that are awake. A lot of the younger generation are out there doing it, but there's a lot of them as well that are programmed and getting more and more programmed. The IQ is getting lower and lower. And people just aren't prepared to think this way. They're living virtually in a matrix, paper-based reality, a virtual reality, and there's so much more that we could be experiencing. And I think it's really important that our generation get up and make some noise. We've got to start respecting each other. We've got to start forgiving each other. Doesn't matter if people wronged you. They did so because of this system. Forgive them. Get over it. It's petty. It's nothing compared to what we face. The whole world needs to step back and just let all that stuff go. It doesn't matter what we did. It matters what we do. And we really do need to do something. We need to pay attention. We could very, very easily fix it, but the first thing we have to do is respect ourselves and respect each other. And until you truly respect yourself, you can't respect each other. And until you truly forgive yourself, you can't forgive those around you. And those who can't forgive just simply can't. Well, someone did something against you. They did the crime. Now you're doing the time. Why can't you forgive? Are you infected by some type of psychopathic mentality where you believe all this fictional stuff is real? Because it's not. None of it's real. None of the social constructs are real. None of the material wealth. It's all prefab stuff that's going to break. You're going to lose it. It isn't you. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. You don't own it. It owns you. The more stuff you own, the less you can do because you've got to worry about all your stuff. So you can't go and do anything. You're never free because you've got all this stuff hanging off you that you don't need. It's a construct. You've collected all this stuff because you think it gives you social standing. It doesn't. Your social standing is who you are. What about that? Why did you miss out on who you are and finding yourself because you thought it was in all this stuff? It doesn't matter what happens anyway because this supernatural being is going to come and save me in the end anyway, so that's all good, Like you can see what's happened to humankind. So, we've got a long way to go, Santos, to get back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we have, Max. I'm aware of that. I had a few great guests before the end of 2012, like Jay Widener and John Anthony West, and we spoke about what could possibly happen after the 21st of December 2012, and we were all positive and hopeful that we would have a great paradigm shift and we would be living in a much more, fraternal or brotherly, sisterly kind of world. And yes, there has been some great changes for sure. But we still see the one percenters and the cabal still resisting the changes, and their supporters and foot soldiers are still happily, clapping them on. Like you said, people rock up to wherever the Queen is. They turn up to celebrate her crimes over us. It's funny how we love.
I dropped some down for you.
Well, yes, I have.
And folks, we're with special guest Max Igan today. So. Call lines are going to go open in the next segment, and if you want to ask a question, call in. Do so as quick as possible because Max will only be with us for 2 segments, answering questions in the next hour. And then we have David Whitehead, who will join me to share with you the great lineup of guests that we've got for May, as I will be unable to host the shows. So, I probably may be able to join in, but I'm going to be pretty busy in Ecuador. There's a lot of work that we're going to be doing. So, caller lines will be opened up in the next hour. Thank you. Yeah, Max, so we see that all the constructs of this solar system, really they're just everything that's been handed down to us has been rather fictional, and people have been sold the lie and are participating in the lie. And you did mention something very nice during the break and very forgiving, that if we look at ourselves 10, 20 years ago, me in particular, I was a Jehovah's Witness, involved in building a house and doing the business things. I was selling homes, making good money, 6 figures, selling brand new homes as a salesman in the 90s. And we were sold that illusion, and we were climbing the social ladder. I remember buying new cars and all sorts of things. And so we can take a glimpse at how we were sold the fiction and we were participating in it, and that will help us to be more forgiving. So, good point there, Max.
Well, you've got to. I mean, we were all stuck into this system at one stage. Everybody has done lots of things that they may regret because that's what this system gives you to live. I mean, that's what you have to do. You're told that this is how reality works. Make it work. But sometimes you can't make it work. It just doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for some people. You find yourself profiting. You find yourself doing all these things because you think that this will bring you happiness. This will bring you success. And you really haven't been given an even playing field. So when you look at people that are asleep, people that argue, people that profit from you, people that do bad things, you can't really judge them because you haven't been given an even playing field. They're not even playing on an even playing field, and they don't even know it. But they're a product of this society. You know, if we can put all that away and forgive each other and move forward, we can change things. But you've got to look at the mistakes that you made. Like when you were a Jehovah's Witness, you were in the system. You didn't know. You were allowing all of this stuff to be perpetuated because you lived in your little bubble and reality worked that way for you. And you can look now, you can see that, and you can go, yeah, wow, I was like that, but now I've woken up. But you see that with yourself. And so how can you judge yourself for anything that you did while you're in that bubble? And when you really, truly see that about yourself, how can you judge anybody for what they did? Because they're all in that bubble. They're all a product of this system. You have to forgive them because you're not judging them on an even playing field. The way you didn't judge yourself on an even playing field, it doesn't matter what we did, it matters what we do. That's what we have to do. We have to get over this hump. But then we've got this ego thing, you know, we've got this whole, I was wronged, I was this, I was that, you know, whatever, you know, it's petty. We've got bigger issues to deal with. We really, really do. When you look at how far disconnected we are from reality and the damage that this system is doing to the planet because we are too busy bickering amongst ourselves over issues that are essentially petty that were created by the system in order to divide and conquer us, we see a bigger picture. We see that it is all petty, and if we would simply respect ourselves, and if you can really, really, truly forgive yourself of what you've done, and truly forgive yourself for who you've been at those worst times in your life, then you can forgive other people. Because if you can truly do it to yourself because you see what reality is, then forgiving other people happens by default because they're not operating on an even playing field either. So, you know, once we do this and we really respect ourselves, then we can start respecting other people around us. Now, I would put it to you that if you don't respect other people and if you're having a hard time forgiving other people, it's because you don't really, truly respect yourself and wish to forgive yourself, or if you might be pretending you do, but perhaps you don't fully forgive yourself. And perhaps you're scared of your own personal power because we all have this power of forgiveness and this power to change, the power to see things as they really are. I mean, this is a construct. It's a matrix designed to do exactly what it's done. That's the thing, you know. It's very, very clever, and it's been designed to divide us, and it's done a fantastic job. But ultimately, I believe all of the issues that people have with each other are essentially petty issues. Because when you really look at the condition of the planet, the condition of the human race, and what we're actually capable of and how far we've been led from that, it's all petty. We've got a lot to deal with here. We've got a long way to get back. And we've got to put all this stuff behind it and let it go.
Absolutely. Hallelujah. Yeah, we have a long way to go. The potential is just amazing, though. If you just stop and contemplate everybody getting it on the planet at the same time, which could happen, why not? It's highly unlikely. It's not probable, but it's possible.
It is possible. But they try to do stuff to make sure we're not all going to get it at the same time. They keep us in fear all the time. I mean, you know, look what just happened in Boston. I mean, look what's happening in the Middle East. Look what they're doing in Syria. Again, they're putting in another puppet government in Syria. This is what we were talking about earlier in the first section when we talked about governments, how they put in these governments, and you were saying, you know, they put in these puppet regimes. They also set up new enemies, you know, because they're putting in a government. Now they just announced they're going to give 123 million to the rebels, the Syrian rebels in arms to help them. They've already said that we believe the Syrian rebels have links to Al Qaeda. So now they're putting these guys in power. So then later on, you know, we can say, oh look, no, we've got an Al Qaeda government, an Al Qaeda backed government in Syria. So now we can go in there. So they keep people distracted with all this stuff, you know, and they set it up. They're setting up Syria so that they can go in there within the next couple of years. They'll set it all up. Oh, no, terrible. We've got an al-Qaeda-backed government. But then everyone's been too distracted with their new PlayStations and everything to notice that the Obama regime gave these al-Qaeda rebels $123 million to set up the new government. It's theatre. There's so much theatre going on. And again, the Boston bombing, it all brings out this fear in people and keeps them distracted.
Well, I saw the tribute that they had. The Red Sox had a game, the Boston Red Sox, and they had a game, and they had all these important, prominent figures that were involved with protecting the city. I think the mayor was there and the chief of police, and they were all lined up. And so you had one of the players who actually swore. He used the F word, and there would have been children in the stadium there, but he says, "This is our effing city, and congratulations to these people here." And he points to all the figureheads that were involved in, so-called protecting the people of Boston. And rest assured, I mean, I don't speak for you, Max, but rest assured, listeners, that 90% of those people that were there were behind the actual theatre of that spectacular show. And here they are getting crowds of people clapping them and egging them on and saying, "Yeah, good on you, Boston police, you heroes, you heroes." And it's, God, it's ridiculous. It's just so funny. It looks like a kindergarten level job, and yet people are falling for it. It's all on the kindergarten level.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just the way they play it. When I was looking at the bombing, I mean, perhaps I'm a little bit biased because I look at all these things and I just expect them to be a false flag. So, I mean, I don't even like to comment on them anymore because I just think that way now. I just look at them all and go, well, none of this makes sense. It's probably a false flag. But since Sandy Hook, I mean, Sandy Hook was spectacular because whether the children died, I can't make the call. Whether it was all actors, as some people say, I can't make the call. I don't know. All I'm looking at with Sandy Hook is the way it was played. There were certain things that were put in place. There was the footage of Gene Rosen rehearsing his lines that was put on YouTube. There was just a lot of it. It was played so that it looked like it was a conspiracy, whether it wasn't or not. And through the coverage that it got, we were actually seeing the words Sandy Hook truther being used on the news and all this sort of stuff on mainstream media. So it was used to vilify the alternate research movement. And I went, aha. And I released a report on it, and I spoke to people about it, and I said, you're going to see this now. You're going to see these events being used to vilify the truth movement. So when I looked at the Boston bombing, so, okay, well, there was all these bomb-sniffing teams around. There was, what are we supposed to expect, that these people were completely useless? Why was there a bomb-sniffing team and all these sniffer dogs and all these guys there to protect the place, and yet bombs went off? Weren't they there to protect? You're telling us that they're completely useless. No one's really looked at it from that angle. But you had cops running around apparently while the bombs were going off saying it's okay, it's just a training exercise and all this sort of stuff. So, these reports disappeared, I think, but I did hear reports of this. So you look at how it was played. It's played to look like a conspiracy, whether it is or not. And again, now we're hearing, these bombers were possibly truthers, right? So it's all being done to vilify the alternate research community, to drive a wedge in the community.
And you did a wonderful job on that video on Sandy Hook. So we'll be back in a few short moments, folks, for the next hour. And caller lines will be open. Thank you. Max Igan with us for the next 2 segments, and I've got the caller lines open. Number is 218-339-8525. If you care to call in and have a word with Max. Right, I forget the subject. We were cut off by the music. Max, did you want to continue from there? I'm sorry.
I think we were talking about the Boston bombings and how these things were being played. I think it's really important to look at that because a lot of this is being used to vilify the truth community. That's the way these things are being played. Because you asked me, what I thought about it, who done it, basically. And, I mean, like I said, when I look at these things, I would say, if I'm looking at myself from an objective perspective, I'd say that after all the stuff I've researched, when I look at these things, I kind of have a biased opinion. I just think that they're false flags now because, I don't think that things happen with all this sort of stuff in place without them being false flags. Things like the bomb sniffing team being there, you know, they catch the guys so quickly on security camera, you know, Muslims, Chechens, the whole thing. You know, you got the parents and the people who knew them saying, no, we don't think that they do this. One of them's conveniently dead, of course. Don't know what's going on with the other one. I mean, I just think that they're false flags, and really, I'm just looking at how it's being played because, like I said when I did my critique on the Sandy Hook thing, you're going to see these events being used to vilify the truth community, the alternative research community, and that's what's been done with this Boston bombing. You know, the patriots, the people that are trying to stand up against gun control, that's who these attacks are aimed at. So that's how they're being played. More importantly than who did it, it's how they're being played. I mean, sometimes there's just bad people who do crazy things. I can't call it as an absolute conspiracy, say that it was an absolute false flag. But, you know, there's all this stuff there. The guy was being handled by the FBI, you know, everything. I mean, there's so much about it that's going to get the alternate research community standing up and speaking out about it as loudly as they can. And so while that's happening, they're calling the perpetrators part of this alternate research and truth community. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it's been played. Sure. And we're going to see this. We're going to see this more and more with these events. We're going to see it always pointing back to the alternate research community.
It's interesting to see more prominent people in the alternative research community. Have you heard of the fellow by the name of David Laurie Van Der Beek? He's running for governor of Nevada, and he's putting out a few interesting videos. One recently last week was to do with the fertilizer missile event. He's done a 20-minute video, and he's showing how there's enough footage there to reveal that there was actually a missile involved in that fertilizer plant explosion. Do you see any of that?
I saw one report of a guy saying that he thought he saw something in the top left off that guy's mobile phone footage that he had. The guy was in the car with his mobile phone and he had his child there with him.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
I don't know if there's any more footage that would confirm anything like that, but I did see that footage. I haven't actually had time to really look into it. It's interesting theory. I mean, it could be. I mean, a fertilizer plant could well go off pretty big though.
That's what I thought too.
But so again, I mean, I'm biased. Like I said, when I look at these things, I have to admit that I am. You know, if I'm going to be objective with anything, I need to be objective with myself, and I have to admit that I'm biased. So, you know, it depends on how it's played. You know, if it's played to look like a conspiracy, if we find more than that, if we find more things in place, then there's a chance that this is the way it's going to be. But, you know, I'm just looking at how things are being played because I think this is all an attempt to bring about, you know, the situation they want. I mean, look at how they've locked down Boston. You know, they locked it down. They were going door to door. It was almost like a curfew. They had army on the streets. It was ridiculous what they did to Boston. It was like a manhunt, like a door-to-door manhunt. You know, it was over the top. You know,
yeah.
And they're just getting people ready for this. And they're willing to do all of this because these couple of people were killed. On that same day, there were drone strikes and there were bombings, you know, in Iraq. There were whole families killed. There was like 40, 50 people killed in bombings in Iraq on that day from the illegal US-led atrocities and invasion that's happened to the people of Iraq and the damage that's been done to these people and the brutalized reality that they're forced to live in. All of this happened on the same day. There wasn't any reports about that. There wasn't lockdown of Iraq. There wasn't any of this terrible stuff, you know, the whole terrible threat against America. Oh, my God, there was a bombing that killed 3 people, and it's terrible that the people died. It's terrible that an 8-year-old boy died. But we didn't see any of the other stuff that's happening in Pakistan, in the stuff that's happening in Iraq. You know, we didn't hear about any of this. And when you see all of the stuff that was in place, you got the video footage of the guys, which is obviously still footage that's been spliced together. It's just still frames, It's not actual video footage. It's not smooth flowing. I mean, you can create that sort of footage from still frames. So why didn't we see actual video footage? Yeah, it's probably put there just so that people will question it. So there's the truth community, gives them a little bit more bait. Because why would you do that? What's the point? That's the point. Okay? You got good down-home white boys there on the screen. There they are, guys with baseball caps on backwards and just backpacks, long hair, just good down-home American guys, You got a multicultural society. Americans are a multicultural place. You got people all around, but they're all Americans. You speak to a Greek guy or a Spanish guy or any guy who lives in America who's got a green card, he goes, hey, I'm an American. So these are just down-home boys. Doesn't matter where they come from. So now you've got your white homegrown terrorists who are truthers. And this is a natural progression from the Sandy Hook event. And everything that I said when I was talking about Sandy Hook, this is exactly what I said. This is what you're going to see. Here it is. There. So I look at that and I go, well, it's a false flag. It has to be. Why else would it happen like this? What's the point of bombing a marathon? What was there, a government official there you wanted to kill? What statement were you trying to make by killing this kid and killing these runners? What are you trying to say here, that sports is evil or something? I mean, what's your point? The point is that it was a publicized event. It was on Patriot Day. It was, there were bomb-sniffing dogs and there was stuff everywhere to make it look like a conspiracy. So that anybody who's got an eye would see that this is what it was. They managed to do it with minimal damage. They just used these little bombs. I mean, only 3 people died. Other people were injured, probably seriously. But still, it's not like it was 9/11. It's not like it was, some major event. It wasn't like it was a bomb that they let off in Iraq, which was probably someone that they'd programmed to do that as well. I mean, there's so much theatre going on with all of this, and you've really got to look at how it was played and the amount of attention that it got. How many people died in the fertilizer blast? 100 people injured or something? Houses knocked down, 15 people blown to bits, never found them. I mean, this didn't get much coverage, and yet these little 3 people being killed with these pressure cookers at a running event, you know what I mean? It gets all the coverage, it gets the whole fear of terrorism, it gets the city locked down. You know what I mean? It's disproportionate. So
exactly.
This lends me to saying, well, this is a staged event. It's a media event. It's a media event. Just look how the media handled it. It's people dying all over the place in a lot more serious circumstances than this. Why aren't we hearing about it? Oh, it's because it was a bomb. Oh, it was a bomb in America. Oh, no. What you mean what America does everywhere else happened there. And it might, it's been played. That's the way it's worked, It's theatre.
Yeah, I encourage the listeners to look at Gerald Celenti's latest offering on the Boston bombings. I think he's done a masterpiece there in pulling that apart. Hey, we've got a caller. Max, how about we go to the caller?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, and it's Jerome. Hello, Jerome.
Hello.
You there? Hey, Jerome.
Hey, how you doing, Santos? I guess this is like a bar. I'm going to be like a regular. You expect me every time you come on, I'll be in the chat line.
You're welcome, brother.
To be honest, I was just listening, but I guess to add my 5 cents in, about the it's a strategy of tension. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the what is it, in Italy, the Piazza Fontana bombing. It was a strategy of tension to basically get people to surrender their weapons and everything. But I'm curious, like how far into the future do you see these stage events happening? Either one you can answer this. These stage events happening until they finally forfeit. They get the American people to forfeit their weapons and carry on the next agenda.
Look, to be honest, I don't think that they'll ever get the American people to willingly forfeit their weapons. It's just not going to happen. I don't think the American people will do that. They tried that. I mean, they with Sandy Hook as well. I mean, you got to see they're making these things so obvious with these events that they're kind of pushing for conflict. They're waiting for the militias to stand up against the government in a military fashion. They're waiting for someone to try to conduct some sort of a people's coup or something. They want either civil war, and if they can't push the people to civil war, because really that's the only way they're going to get the weapons, then they will push the people towards martial law by staging things such as the Boston bombing. You know, because what they've done with Boston, you know, in the wake of that bombing, they let off these 2 little pressure cookers, which only killed 3 people. And on the scale of things, that's not a lot. As I said, it's terrible that anybody died and anybody was hurt. But on the scale of things, it was a small pressure cooker homemade event. Homemade, down-home guys with stuff you can get from the kitchen made these bombs. So it was done this way, and the media have played it, and the media have hyped it up so much. And the result of that was that all of Boston got put on lockdown, and the people accepted it. They virtually had martial law imposed over a whole city because of a couple of pressure cookers, and the people accepted it. You know, so this is the way they'll do it. All they have to do is stage a few more of these events and say, oh, look, this is going to keep happening. Obviously, we've got terrorist cells in our country, and we think that these terrorist cells are these truthers, because if you look at everything they say, oh, look, it's all anti-American. They blame the Americans. They blame the Jews. They blame the Vatican. It's all anti-Christian. It's all anti-American. These people are anti-society. You can see how they're going to play it. And that's what they will use if they don't get the civil war that they're pushing for by making all of these things so damn obvious when they do them now. That's my take on it anyway. That's the 2 possibilities that we've got, you know.
Yeah, going on the internet there, reading my Hotmail, you know, I see the little MSN victim says he wants Boston back. I'm like, did he really say that, or, you know? But I mean, I understand where the ship is heading. I guess for Santo, from an astrological perspective, was there anything that happened on the supposed bombing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was around the famous sacrifice day, the day of sacrifice of fire. You know, we've had Waco, we had the BP oil spill, we had Oklahoma. There's so many things. The Civil War, everything around the end of Aries. And this particular Aries was very, very fiery. I did do a show a couple of months back where I said, watch out for Aries. Aries represents sharp objects, weapons, shooting, martial action, fiery, warlike things, and watch out for it. And it all came about on cue. But my feeling, to answer your question, Jerome, despite these horrible things happening, what does really happen behind the scenes is that people are talking about it, and more people are awakening as a result. So, yeah, they can go ahead and do all these false flag events and benefit from them. We do see that in the end, ultimately, it's the banksters who benefit from it, ultimately, those types, and the people who have got a lot of money invested in the system. But what's happening is it's actually turning out to their detriment, because people are awakening and talking about it. I mean, here's me on this show talking about this, whereas 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had a clue. So rejoice that that's happening. Good will come from all evil acts. It always does.
Well, the thing is, you know, as well.
Hopefully, we'll have the Vatican step down also a couple of decades, maybe. Pope step down, I mean.
Yeah.
The thing is as well, if I can just interject, the thing is as well is that, you know, learning how to combat these things. How can we combat this whole system? And it's got to come back to what I was saying before about respect and unity in community, because the power of community can change everything. So you've got to start respecting yourself and respecting those around you. Put away all the petty stuff, because we've got bigger issues to deal with. and it's really imperative that we deal with them. We can only deal with these issues through respecting each other and having strong community, and once we've got that, all of these issues will simply disappear by default because we'll have the strength of numbers to simply stand up and say no. And it can be done non-violently as well. That's the beauty of it. And when I say forgive people and forgive all, I mean, a lot of the psychopaths that do all these things, they won't allow you to forgive them. So that's not an issue. Don't worry about that. But just forgive the people around you in your community.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's go to the next break. You good for that, Jerome? I'll put you back on mute. Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you, Santos.
Thanks, brother. Back in a few short moments, folks. Hang in there. Thank you. With special guest Max Igan today, and it's the final segment. So, Max, I just want to thank you, and so that you can be free to go at the end of this segment, and I'll have David Whitehead at the after the break. And so I just want to thank you for joining me and for sharing with the listeners your insights and perspectives. You've been on this case for many years now, and so we love to hear from you, brother. Thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure to come on, Santos. Always a pleasure. I just hope that it helps, offering the perspective. I mean, I think we've got some serious issues, but I think we've also got some really simple solutions to them. So that's what I try to present.
Yeah, well, I like the solution that you offered of starting with forgiving yourself. Now, I don't know how complete I have perfected that process, but I know I have forgiven myself for, the ignorance, the dangerous behaviour that I've been involved in. I say dangerous when, I consider myself to be a danger to humanity when I was a Jehovah's Witness, because I was very zealous and I would knock on many doors, trying to convert people to Jehovah and to the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, who I now know are pedophiles. So that was a very dangerous me, and I need to complete the process of forgiving myself for a start, and then only then can you fully, completely forgive everyone else, because really we are everyone else. God, the creator light, we are children of light, is in everyone.
Well, that's true, brother, and you've got to really forgive yourself. But when you do, when you have a real moment of realization, because the real way to forgive yourself is to understand the playing field that you've got, understand the yardsticks that you were given to measure yourself up to. Understand that you were living in what was essentially a social construct, a fictional social construct, a boxed view of reality. When you look at things, I mean, I go through this on so many shows where I talk about the measurement problem. I talk about it so much and mention it so much because it's important. It's an important piece of science. All you people out there, you respect science. Okay, well, here's some science that says that when you observe an experiment, it behaves differently. And the measurement problem, how you can't measure an atom until you actually go to measure it, because the electrons are infinite. They exist everywhere at once. It isn't until you go to measure it that it actually coalesces to form the atom. So therefore, the acts of observation creates the atom, and everything is made of atoms. All matter is made of atoms, and yet we create this stuff by observing it. So, when you are living in a social construct and an economic construct and a religious construct and a scientific construct, a mathematical, geometric construct that tells you that reality has to fit within these certain parameters and that is all that's possible, then this is what you get. But really the only thing that is impossible is that which you believe is impossible. So, we are capable of making this reality anything we want. But we're given all these fictional yardsticks and ways to measure ourselves up. We're put into a system which is essentially designed to disconnect us, to make us all competitive, to make it so that we've all got stuff with each other, so that we're all divided, when really it's a construct. It's been done to do exactly what it's done. So you're not judging people or yourself by an even playing field. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you did, Santos. It matters what you do. Put that away. There was one moment in ceremony where I was in ceremony. I spoke to the mother, the earth mother, the mother ayahuasca, the female goddess that we all meet, that everybody meets if they do ceremony. And I said to her, I'm really sorry about all that stuff I did. And she said, yes, so am I. Are we done? Can we go forward now? And she doesn't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did. Now you know. That's great that you know, because now you know never to do it again. It's all good. Doesn't matter. It's just a construct. The whole thing's a construct. But we can change it. once we forgive ourselves, and when we can truly see that what it was our belief of reality that made us everything that we were, that always does make you everything that you are. It's your belief of reality, your belief of what your relationship to reality is. But when you can really see how much has been taken from us, it's easy to forgive yourself and to forgive everybody of everything, because no one was given an even playing field. And the best you can do is lead by example and be the light that you are, and shine that light forth. Be that, and be all that you can be in the world, and improve reality by your presence in it. Because we're custodians of this place. Each generation are the custodians of this planet. And we need to turn things around. We really do. It's got to come from respect. And as soon as we do that, when you truly do that and truly find yourself and truly forgive yourself, you don't even have to try to forgive everybody else. It just all happens by default. And if it happened to everybody all at once, the world would change in 3 seconds. You know, there'll be the psychopaths, like I said, that won't allow you to forgive them, and that's okay. They're psychopaths. They'll just keep going and act in psychopathic ways. But because we've all forgiven each other and we all respect each other, well, I guess we'll just have to take these guys and, I don't know, put them on Christmas Island or something. They can all live there together, you know, like they made the refugees do. You know, but something. We get them out of society. We don't need you. You're a psychopath. Go away. See, back in the old days, the shaman used to take care of the psychopaths, so they were never allowed to get into a situation where they were in control. But through the loss of our shamanistic culture, we lost the ability to differentiate these psychopaths, and so these psychopaths, because they like control, they always maneuver themselves into control, and so now we have a completely psychopathic society, completely due to the loss of shamanistic traditions, which is another result of religion. You know, the Crown Corporation, the Jesuit system, you know, the whole, you know, corporate entity that is Rome, that went out and devastated all. That was its main priority: devastate all of these shamanistic traditions, because that's where your connection to everything lies. You know, and that's also how to recognize psychopathy, and we don't want that. And so we've created a psychopathic system which rewards psychopathic and sociopathic behavior. So this is what you get, you know. So you can't judge people. You can't, because, you know, you look at the parameters that they've been given to grow up in. And it's a big step backwards, and it's a big realization to really see this and to see it about yourself and to see what you've actually been swimming in. But when you really see it, you can't help but forgive yourself and everybody else.
Yeah, here. Perfect. Well said, and so true. We've been handicapped by the system that we glorify, and you hear people talking and praising the scientific community and all their achievements, and politicians who are doing good for humanity, and charities that are going around vaccinating children and stuff like that. I mean, it's all, you know, it's all a construct, and we've been educated to think that these things are great and superior to any other time in history, and yet it's totally the opposite. So we've got to, first of all, overcome that and understand that has been happened to us, that has been perpetrated on us, and
yeah, well, it's a system of control. It's solely about control, all of that stuff. It's a result of the predator mind, and even people's belief that they need to judge others. It's a result of the predator mind. As I said earlier, one of the researchers I respect most out of a lot of the people that I've seen out there is the work of John Lash. And I really recommend that people have a listen to what he's said on some of his interviews. And I actually got to try to contact him to see if I can get him on the show. But I think that, you know, the more people understand about the predator mind and what they're really swimming in, what this social construct really is, and what it's done to human consciousness, you know, it becomes easy to forgive everybody, and you know, you can't really judge them at all, you know. And I recommend people do ceremony as well, not because it's a nice experience, because often it isn't, but it opens you up to the fact that there are higher realms, there are higher levels of consciousness that you can reach, and we need to pay attention. Even if you don't do ceremony, you can still, if you look, you can see the system for what it is. You can see how much humankind has been moved from their path, and I think it's really important that we get back on our path. It's really important that we keep the message alive, but it's also really important when we look at all these people and you know, we don't judge them harshly. I mean, you can't really be calling people morons, because they've been programmed to do what they're doing. and they're in a bubble. They can't help it. They were put there. They don't know. They have no idea what reality is because they were given these little boxed parameters. And that became their reality. And suddenly within those parameters, they found a little bubble where it works for them. They can walk that path and not think about anything else. And it all works. Just leave me alone. My reality works if I do this. I've found a way to make it work. So don't bring this other stuff to me. So you can't judge them. You can't. You've got to lead by example and shine your light. Understand who and what you really are and shine that light. That's how you change things. You lead by example in all that you do, regardless of what you did. Forgive yourself, forgive them. It doesn't matter. It's all petty. There's far, far bigger things at stake.
Yeah, and you're right there. You can actually learn these things from entheogenic experiences. I hope I can get a chance to do this when I go to Ecuador. Do you know whether Ecuador is known for ayahuasca?
I'm not sure, mate. Like say, look, a lot of Central American and South American regions are, but you're not far from Peru, and I know a few people in the Peru area that would be able to look after you.
Not that I need to. I mean, I've got enough stuff here. I've got a beautiful Salvia divinorum plant just outside of my doorstep. Really, it's growing monstrously, and I tell you what, the DMT in that is quite wonderful. I recommend Salvia divinorum to anyone who's
Yeah, it's not also about the DMT though. I mean, with the ayahuasca ceremony, a lot of it is about the ayahuasca. You can actually do it without the DMT. The DMT just helps. Something that I'd like to see that I'm kind of concerned about with the way ayahuasca ceremonies have become so prominent and so fashionable, if you will, is that there are vast amounts of the Amazon still being torn down, and there are now, because of ayahuasca tourism, there are vast amounts of vine being pulled out of the jungle that is left, and I'm just wondering who's planting, because it's very, very soon, at the current rate, it will become a rarity because of the degradation of the forest, and people's rush to get this out to everybody that they can, and using it as a means of making money, may be the downfall of the tradition, maybe the downfall of shamanism altogether, because it needs to be done in a very careful manner, and we need to make sure that we don't run out of this plant, because the last place it exists is the Amazon jungle, really, and except for little pockets maybe around the place. But people need to be thinking about that and replanting it, and getting the word out to do that on all of the places that you can go for ceremony. I think they should be planting.
Yeah, true too, very true. And certainly if one is not prepared to have an entheogenic experience, I would recommend to spend time with yourself. The best way to get to know who you are, which is imperative really for going forward, is to spend time with yourself.
Do that and spend time in the forest, spend time in the jungle. I mean, one of the biggest things I learned from an entheogenic experience was that I don't need it. Like even the spirit of the plant, Mother Ayahuasca, because that's the thing in the ayahuasca experience, is the spirit of that kampa vine itself. It has a particular female spirit which can connect you to all sorts of higher stuff and literally show you the way through the DMT experience. I mean, DMT itself is like it's been shot out of a cannon. You don't know what you're going to manifest. You'll manifest anything your imagination wants to manifest, depending on the mood you're in, the fear state you're in, or anything. And all this stuff's happening. You don't know how to decode it. But with the ayahuasca experience, you've actually got the spirit of this plant guiding you through. And it's a feminine spirit that everybody experiences. Every single person that has the ayahuasca experience meets Mother Ayahuasca eventually. They'll meet this feminine spirit which guides them through. So it's a rather unique experience, and if you go out in nature, you can feel her there all the time. That's what she will tell you in the experience, is that the most important thing you can get out of this is to remember that you don't have to do this. You don't have to drink to come and know me. I'm here all the time. All you have to do is be aware of me and listen. And the reason you've got a lot of shaman going out around the world and holding ceremonies in secret with people to bring this information to people is because the shamanistic cultures that are left, the traditional cultures, believe that the reason our society is the way it is and the reason this predator mind has been able to take us over is because we've lost our connection to spirit, our connection to the earth spirit. And they can see that if we don't get our connection to spirit back, we're going to take the whole world down with us. We're going to take all these traditions with us. We're going to take all life with us into the abyss. And so they're going out now using the ayahuasca as a means of giving people a crash course in what reality actually is, because we've lost our connection to that.
Beautiful. Well said. And Max, we've come to the end. And I wish to thank you very much. And we'll be talking soon, brother. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to come on, Santos. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
listeners. Back after a few short minutes after the commercial break with David Whitehead, who will be joining you for the month of May on this show. Thank you.